Thank you for sparing your time this lunchtime to take part in this session. I'm very much looking forward to sharing with you and looking at 10 ways to use online assessment that you may have thought of. Before I begin, I just want to share a little bit about myself. So another a wonderful picture of me. Simon Grundy. I'm the sales director here at the Test Factory. I have experience in both the corporate and education sectors of working with organizations and companies to help them use technology and assessment to really empower learners and facilitate effective teaching and training. I'm a keen hill walker, hence the picture of me on top of Helm. And I want to walk all 214 Wainwright, so that's the Lake District Fells, by the time I'm 40. And I'm only guessing at how long I've actually got left to go before I need to achieve that. What we're going to do in this session is we're going to look at those 10 ways. But what I want to do to begin with is just get a little bit of feedback from yourselves so we can all get a sense of how to use online assessment at this point in time. We can get a bit of interaction. I'll give you a very brief overview of the Test Factory before we get into those 10 ways. So the first thing that I'd love you all to feedback on is this question in front of you. So who uses assessment, as part of their engagement with and support staff at this point in time? If you use it, then please either click to raise your hand or click to show a tick. Either's fine, but just indicate to us if you already use assessment.
So it's people saying yes there, Simon. Also, we have some people putting into the text chat area some thoughts as well. So if you want to raise your hand and also to put in text chat, great to hear from it. So you see the results coming through. It's up to 25 now out of the 26 out of the 63 people online.
And rising. I think what that's telling us is what we'd expect, that an awful lot of you, at least half, possibly, very bad maths there, but do use assessment already in some form. To build on that a little bit, can you indicate now who that use online assessment already at this point? So we're still getting a good number of people coming through. Interestingly, the same people that already use assessment, if not a little bit more. So there's a good proportion of us already using assessment in some form and using online assessment. Now, if we can just use the chat facility to just start and share with each other how we currently use assessments, it would be great to get and to share that sort of insight. So if we use the chat facility down in the bottom right of your participants panel to just share some of the ways that you use online assessment or assessment at this point in time. Some of those that have come through. So the rest has shared course feedback. Damien again uses assessment at the end of a course to test understanding and the impact that course or training may have. So where you use it at the beginning of a course, maybe so that you can benchmark and get a sense of progress. We've got develop knowledge. We've got Matt, who actually uses it for high-stake competency assessments.
Quite a lot of interesting feedback there. Can I just ask people, please do send your feedback to all participants. Use the drop-down box to choose all participants. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead, Simon. No
problem at all. We've got more in terms of at the end of courses. It also appears that there are people using assessments in a course itself, possibly an online course to just test understanding at various points in that course, to signpost results training, and an example there of it being used to evaluate strategic programs, to guide people in learning and to benchmark. And then I was using it as a short-term memory test at the end of a course, which a lot of people might say. I think there are other examples where it may be used up to 2 weeks after a course, and again then on a regular basis, maybe short quizzes to build knowledge and to reinforce knowledge retention. And then we've got Nick owning up to using it for box ticking and to prove content as being covered, which indeed we need to do, particularly from a client standpoint. Some great uses already there in terms of people using online assessment or assessment in some form, some of which we'll touch on. So as an organisation, as the Test Factory, we actually provide online assessment solutions that go right across the employee cycle, indeed into the world of education and exam preparation. Just some examples there on screen in front. And we're online assessment experts in terms of what we do and in terms of how we help organisations use online solutions to achieve their goals, and in a huge range of areas. So from recruitment, induction, onboarding, through L&D, 180, 360, for compliance, for certification, exam prep, partner enablement, to work with source call centres, a huge variety of ways that I'm going to use today. So we're global. We provide assessments in over 20 languages in 160 countries. To give you a related sense of some of the people that we work with, a huge range of organisations, some of those on screen. That doesn't include people like Johnson & Johnson or Cisco or UK Parliament or publishing groups like Oxford University Press or Hodder, for example. So a really broad set of ways, and it's those that I want to build on today and just share some examples of how our clients use online assessment with you. So we work through each of these. I'll just display them, but we'll work through each in turn. And my goal today is to do this in a fast-paced way. I won't dwell in a great level of detail on any given one, but of course we can pick anything up afterwards. I want to keep this fast-paced. I want to get you interact with us. And at the end, I want to get your vote on which seems the most exciting or relevant to you, with the hope that you'll take one new idea from this session. So we'll just straight in at number one. Maybe I've gone down from 10, but we'll jump in at number one. So the first way to use online assessments that you may not have already thought of or do is to measure confidence as well as competence. So the various organisations that we work with identified that to actually drive performance and improve performance, they're needing to understand people's confidence as well as their niche or their skills or how they perform against the required competencies. And that is always confidence, but we use confidence as an example, such as this one here, where prior to this question, there would be a set of questions regarding the I-4. In order to provide a safe, non-threatening environment where employees can immediately give feedback about how confident they feel about a topic or area or a skill, you can have a question in an online assessment that captures that, which is then going to give you very insightful reports, such as in this example. So ideally, you want all of your employees to be in this top right corner, where they've demonstrated that they have the knowledge that you're looking for, they have the competencies that you're looking for, and they feel confident in those areas, so they're going to go out there and use those skills and knowledge that they have effectively and confidently, as opposed to those that you've got a picture of who are supremely confident, but are confidently going to go and carry out their role, not in the way that you need them to. One of the reasons for the value of this type of report is that it can help you take the right action to get people to the level of competence and confidence in this instance that you'd like them to be. So I remember myself from managing and coaching sales teams that it wasn't necessarily the case when people were putting certain skills and knowledge into practice that they didn't have that. It was that they weren't confident in their ability to do so, and what they needed wasn't more training, it was coaching and direct support. And being able to capture both of these things using online assessments can give you that insight so that you can take action. Another organisation that we're working with at this point in time are looking to run a global change management program, and for them, they're looking at how they can assess people's knowledge of that and change in process and implications for them alongside their attitudes towards it. You can use that to inform the next steps that they need to take as part of rolling out that program. So that's one way. In at number two, as that you may not already use assessments to help you in what you do, I didn't see this mentioned earlier, is to do quality monitoring. So you probably all take part in this or lead people that do this. It goes on across organisations in terms of quality monitoring and assessing staff as to their skills, their abilities, whether they're putting the right processes into practice, whether they're doing what's been asked of them. Often it can still take place on paper. People might use a Word template, they might use Excel spreadsheets. I remember being in the field with trainers and salespeople, I'd often use my notebook, and sometimes I thought I was being all advanced with technology because I'd make notes on my mobile. But the reality was that I wasn't doing something in a form that was going to give me a deep, actionable insight across a group of people or across a whole national team in my organisation. And the reality often is that the people we're asking to assess are not necessarily experts in doing that, or will do it in the same objective way, or give the same ratings against things. So we're not getting a consistency and therefore an effective insight. By taking that online, particularly if you can utilize mobile devices from a smartphone to a tablet, you can scaffold that and you can instantly get real-time reports. So, such as in this instance where it's being used to monitor sales calls and visits, that organisation can get immediate national feedback, can look at people in groups, and can actually take informed action based on that quality monitoring as a result of doing online and using mobile devices. And that reporting can be right down, such as with this example here, to an insight into how an individual is performing against certain key tasks, processes that are expected of them, or you can start and look at groups, at teams, and take action then as appropriate because of that insight. Moving to number three, I'm just going to look for a show of hands again, or a reminder of who currently uses paper-based assessments. So if we take virtual hands or ticks, please. So that's growing. We're getting closer to 20. There's a sizable number of people in the group that are still using assessments in paper-based form, which would reflect an awful lot of organisations out there and that we work with. The way that you could use online assessments is to eliminate paper-based